Chicago in 1984?
Well, I just gotten out of college. I was at Columbia University in New York, and Harold Washington had just been elected in 1983. And I was very much interested in seeing what could be done in terms of the inner city, what the possibilities were for progressive politics in the black community. And Chicago was the most exciting thing going on at the time. So I hooked up with a church-based community organization out in the far south side called Developing Communities Project, and ended up directing their organizing efforts for about 4 years, I guess. And we were involved in a range of things. We worked on setting up job training programs in the community. We set up counseling programs for young people to get them into college. We set up projects whereby people would clean up their streets, remove vacant buildings, a whole range of different community issues that really taught me a lot about both the possibilities and the problems that confronted the black community in Chicago. So I consider that one of my best decisions coming to Chicago originally, and I've stayed there ever since, although in the interim I went to law school. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your involvement with Project Vote.
Well, the way that came up, I had just graduated from Harvard Law School in 1991, and I had been fortunate enough to get a contract to write a book, a series of essays about civil rights law and some personal reflections about the situation of African Americans and Africans. My father's was from Kenya. He's passed away now. So I was in the middle of writing this book when I got a call from a person named Sandy Newman, who directed a national organization called Project Vote, and they were very eager to have me direct their voter registration effort in Chicago. Now, Project Vote nationally is geared towards registering minority and low-income voters, the idea being that people can only impact the major decisions that are affecting low-income minority communities if they're participating in the political system. And historically, the African-American community and low-income communities tend to be under-registered. I was interested, but because I had this commitment to write this book, I initially declined, but about 3 weeks later, Carol Moseley Braun won the nomination for the Democratic Senate nominee. And at that point I realized that this presented an opportunity in Illinois to enfranchise and engage a lot of African American voters that previously had not been involved. And so as a consequence I agreed to take some time off from the book I was writing, much to the dismay of my publishers, and decided to head up the Project Vote effort all the way through the general election in November.
Why do you think it is that you were able to register as many voters as you did? I understand that it was more than was registered at the time that Harold Washington was running.
That's right. We ended up registering close to 150,000 voters, and I guess I think there are a number of factors were at work. First of all, I think it was a critical election. Not only did you have Carol Moseley Braun on the ticket as potentially the first African American senator from Illinois, and the only one in the Senate generally, but you also had a major threshold election taking place where the Democrats for the first time had an opportunity to challenge Republicans for the White House, and although Project Vote was a nonpartisan effort, what we did feel was that given that both parties anticipated a close election, the interest and the concern and the enthusiasm and energy that could be generated out of a close presidential contest was going to make registration easier. So that was a major factor. The second thing that I think had a major impact was the participation of the black business community in the city, as well as the participation of the black media outlets in the city. We had major support from a number of black businesses in the area, particularly Soft Sheen Products, Mr. Gary Gardner, The president and his father, Ed Gardner, his sister, Terry Gardner, were all extremely supportive. They designed a terrific media campaign with beautiful posters and buttons. They were able to negotiate with the major radio stations like GCI and VON to really drum up a lot of support for voter registration. So I think in addition to making the point that politics affected people's lives on the street, we were also able to reach out to young people and show that registration was hip, was popular, was trendy. And although you'd like to think that folks would register just because it was their civic duty, I think in a media age like this, you really have to appeal to young people where they're at. And I think that's what Soft Sheen and Brainstorm and the radio stations really helped us do.
What will it take to keep black voter turnout high, in your opinion?
I think there's the old story that when America's sick, black folks have pneumonia. And I think there's a general trend in America to remove themselves from the political process. We're all very cynical about politicians, about politics, about Washington. And I think since black folks are suffering even more than the general population, more anxious, their lives are more unstable, what that means is we're even more cynical and more skeptical about the political process. So I think this is an ongoing problem. The key components to keeping voter participation up and political participation up is, I think, for leadership to assert itself and make clear to the general population that politics does matter, that very concrete life choices are affected by what happens in Washington, D.C. or Springfield or the City Council, that it can make the difference in terms of a benefits check, it can make the difference in terms of school funding, and that citizens can't just remove themselves from that process. They actually have to engage themselves and not just leave it to the professionals, that whether it's through participation in voting or participation through community organizations or what have you, that we've got to get involved if we're going to make a difference. And that's an uphill battle, and I think the burden is on all the political leadership in the black community to operate with clarity and integrity to make that message clear at the grassroots level.
Please tell me about the book that you are working on about race relations.
Well, it's actually changed quite a bit. Originally, it was going to be very much an academic book, sort of focusing on civil rights laws and civil rights policies and how they've changed and how they need to move as we enter the 21st century. As I wrote it, it ended up becoming much more of a personal reflection on what it means for me to be an African American and what my relationship is to this community as well as to Africa, and a reflection on my father in particular, who I didn't know very well, and who's passed away, who passed away quite a while ago. It ended up being a reflection on what it means to be a black man in America, and issues of fatherhood and issues of how we can be strong and respectful and keep our families together. So it's ended up becoming much more of a personal reflection on men and families and what that means for the black community. So hopefully it's going to be finished in a couple of months, and in the meantime I'm still working on my law practice.
Okay, what type of law do you practice?
Well, the firm that I work with focuses mostly on a variety of civil rights work. We take on a lot of voting rights cases. We do a lot of employment discrimination cases. We also represent a number of non-for-profits in the city, community organizations, church groups, who are doing a range of different and exciting projects building low-income housing, trying to create black businesses in the community, and so we represent them, essentially acting as their commercial lawyers. And so it's a terrific practice insofar that it relates directly to what my previous interests were. There's a continuity between the work that I did with Project Vote, the work that I did as an organizer that originally brought me to Chicago, and the work that I'm doing now as an attorney. And so, I'm very excited by it.
And do you have any plans to run for political office?
Not at the moment. I've only been married a year, and so I need to spend a lot of time with my wife, and hopefully that'll continue. That's a pleasure. I'm still working in my law practice. I teach a course at the University of Chicago in civil rights law, and that keeps me pretty busy. I've got a real full plate at the moment. My general view about politics and running for office is that if you end up being fortunate enough to have the opportunity to serve, it's because you've got a track record of service in the community. And I think right now I'm still building up that track record. And if a point comes where I think that I can do more good in a political office than I can doing the things I'm doing now, then I might think about it. But that time is certainly in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good.